Scaffolding user safety. Number 1, purpose: to establish requirements for the assembly, operation, maintenance, and use of scaffolds, manually propelled mobile scaffolds, fork truck personal lifts, and elevating work platforms. Number 2, scope. This standard practice has been limited to cover general requirements: Waco's tubular welded frame scaffolding, elevating platforms, fork truck personnel lifts, and telescoping scaffolding. The safety office should be contacted when a type of scaffolding not covered within this standard practice is to be used or is being considered for use. Number 3, reference: 29 CFR 1910.28 scaffolds, 29 CFR 1910.29 manually propelled mobile ladders, stands, and scaffolds, towers, 29 CFR 1926.451 scaffolding. Procedure. General requirements. When erecting scaffolding, the Scaffolding Safety Rules, Appendix A, will be posted in a conspicuous location at the worksite. Supervisors shall ensure that all personnel who erect, dismantle, or use scaffolding are aware of the safety rules and are properly trained. All scaffolding and elevating platforms, either leased or purchased, will have the manufacturer's safety instructions for erections and use available. Scaffolding and elevating platforms shall be erected and used following the manufacturer's instructions and this standard practice. Scaffold components manufactured by different vendors will not be mixed. Mud sills and anchorage points for scaffolds and platforms will be sound, rigid, and capable of carrying the maximum intended load without setting or displacement. If the ground area will settle, a large mud still capable of carrying the load without settling shall be used to support the scaffold or platform. Unstable objects such as barrels, boxes, loose bricks, or concrete blocks will not be used to support scaffolds, planks, or platforms. Poles, legs, or uprights of scaffolds shall be plumb. Additionally, poles, legs, and uprights shall be securely and rigidly placed to prevent swaying or displacement. Scaffolding will be tied and securely braced to the building or structure at least every 30 feet in length and 26 feet in height. Exception: freestanding scaffolds may be 4 times the narrowest base dimension. If additional height is required, the base dimension will be increased, or the scaffolding will be tied and braced to the building or structure or have guy wires. Scaffolding whose working platform is 10 feet or greater in height shall have a standard guardrail, midrail, and toe board installed. Scaffolding having a width of less than 45 inches must have standard guardrails installed on all open sides and ends when the working platform height is 4 feet or greater. Guardrails and midrails will be at least 1.5 inch nominal diameter with posts spaced not more than 8 feet on center. The guardrail shall be capable of withstanding a load of 200 pounds when applied from any direction and at any point on the top rail. The top rail will be placed at a height of 42 inches nominal from the upper surface of the rail to the working platform. The midrail will be placed approximately halfway between the top rail and the working platform. Toe boards will be at least 4 inches in height and mounted within 1/4 inch of the working platform. Where persons are required to work or pass under the scaffold, scaffolds will be provided with screens between the toe board and guardrail. The screen will extend along both ends of the sides of the scaffold and consist of number 18 US gauge 1/2 inch wire mesh or equivalent. All personnel assembling, disassembling, or working on scaffolding or platforms must be instructed on proper technique and use of these items. Manually propelled scaffolds and elevating platforms will not be moved when occupied. Head protection is required for workers on or around scaffolding. Working on scaffolds or platforms during storms, high winds, or when covered with snow or ice is prohibited. The live load of the scaffolds or platforms will not be exceeded. A visual inspection must be conducted immediately when a scaffold or platform has been damaged or weakened from any cause. The structure will not be occupied until the inspection has been completed and all identified discrepancies corrected. Ladders or makeshift devices shall not be used to increase the height of the scaffold or platform. Tools and parts shall not be carried in hands or pockets when ascending or descending access ladders. Tool belts, tool buckets, and ropes or other accessible means will be used to raise and lower such items. Material being hoisted onto a scaffold must have a tag line. Special precautions shall be taken to protect scaffold members, including wire or fiber ropes, when a heat-producing process or corrosive substances are being used. All wood planking shall be scaffold grade. The wood span for wood planking is Retraining is required in at least the following situations: where changes at the worksite present a hazard about which an employee has not been previously trained, or where changes in the type of scaffold, fall protection, falling object protection, or other equipment present a hazard about which an employee has not been previously trained, or where inadequacies in an affected employee's work involving scaffolds indicate that the employee has not retained the requisite proficiency. Wood planking will extend over and supports at least 6 inches and a minimum of 12 inches. Additionally, planking will be cleated to prevent movement. Slippery conditions on scaffolds and platforms will be eliminated as soon as they occur. In-house manufactured scaffolding will be engineered prior to construction. Scaffolds and their components shall be capable of supporting without failure at least 4 times the maximum intended load. Wire, synthetic, or natural fiber rope used with scaffolds shall be capable of supporting without failure at least 6 times the related load. Cross braces, runners, or bearers shall not be used for climbing. Access to scaffolds will be by stairs or ladders only. Waco tubular welded frame scaffolding end frames have a built-in ladder. All scaffold casters will have a positive wheel and/or swivel lock to prevent movement. Where leveling of the elevated work platform is required, screw jacks or other suitable means of adjusting the height shall be provided in the base section of each scaffold. Maximum adjustment is 12 inches. All sections of scaffolding will be locked together vertically by pins or other equivalent means. Frames and accessories for scaffolds shall be maintained in good repair. Every defect, unsafe condition, or non-compliance with this standard practice will be corrected immediately. Any broken, bent, rusted, altered, or otherwise structurally damaged frame or accessory will not be used. Tubular welded frame scaffolds. The assembly, erection, operation, use, and maintenance of tubular welded frame scaffolds shall meet manufacturer's requirements and recommendations. Mud sills shall be placed under each leg. A continuous mud sill, which is under both legs of a side, that is 2 inches by 10 inches by 78 inches minimum, is recommended. The minimum mud sills that will be used are 2 inches by 10 inches by 18 inches under each leg. Each leg base will be secured to the mud sill. Adjustable screw base plate will be used on each scaffold leg. The maximum height of adjustment is 12 inches to the top of the adjustment screw. Exception: when 2 sections have been clamped together to form a base of a 10-foot by 7-foot 6 adjustable screw base plates will be used. Spacing of the panel or frame shall be consistent throughout the scaffold being assembled. Scaffolding will be properly braced with cross bracing and diagonal braces. Cross braces shall be such length as to automatically square and align vertical members so the erected scaffold is always plumb, square, and rigid. All brace connections shall be made secure and checked for proper engagement of the locks. Diagonal bracing will be placed on the bottom of the first tier of at least every 20 feet thereafter. Diagonal bracing will be used in pairs. The frames will be placed on the top of the other with coupling or stacking pins to provide proper vertical alignment of the legs. The maximum live load for Waco 5-foot welded frame scaffolding is on the chart. The first tier will have a dimension of 7 foot by 10 foot. The second through 5th tiers may have a dimension of 5 foot by 7 foot. Recommended that the second tier have a dimension of 7 foot by 10 foot, and the 3rd through 5th tiers have a dimension of 5 foot by 7 foot. The 1st and 2nd tiers will have a dimension of 7 foot by 10 foot. The 3rd through 6th tiers will have a dimension of 5 foot by 7 foot. Elevating platforms. Maintenance personnel will conduct preventative maintenance inspections. Operators will complete an operational inspection prior to each use. The live load must not exceed manufacturer's recommended capacities. Outriggers shall always be fully extended and in firm contact with the supporting surface. The platform will be operated following the manufacturer's instructions. Fork truck personnel lifts. Fork truck lifts shall have a guardrail, mid-rail, and tow board. Personnel lifts shall be secured to the fork truck to prevent them from sliding off. Personnel lifts shall be equipped with a black guard. Guards must be at least 20 gauge 1/4 inch expanded metal and must extend at least 66 inches above the platform. During use, the black guard will be towards the fork truck. Telescoping scaffold. The scaffold will be thoroughly inspected prior to each use. Outriggers will be fully extended prior to use. When the outriggers on the inside of the scaffold cannot be deployed, The scaffold shall be secured and braced to the structure if the top deck is raised. Once the desired height is obtained, a safety pin will be placed in each leg of the scaffold. Height adjustment is in 6-inch increments. Guardrails will be used at all times with this scaffolding. Inspections. All scaffolds and their components will be thoroughly inspected before each erection to ensure soundness of the scaffold. As a minimum, A visual inspection will be made of the tubular components. All foreign objects on the inside of the tubular part will be removed. If the object cannot be removed, the part will not be used. B. The exterior and interior of all legs, runners, braces, and bearers will be inspected for corrosion. All corrosion found will be corrected. EERC, Design Engineering, will verify that the part which contained the corrosion meets the design criteria after the corrosion has been removed. Components with corrosion will not be used since their strength is unknown. Wood components will be inspected for proper grade and indications of damage or deterioration. Complete the scaffolding inspection report and forward to the EERC Safety Office for review and filing. Before scaffolding is erected, the surface of the proposed location will be inspected for stability, level, potential obstructions, and electrical hazards. Erected scaffolds will be visually inspected before each day's use to ensure a safe condition is maintained. A complete inspection of all scaffolds and elevating platforms will be completed at least semi-annually. Wire, synthetic, or natural fiber rope used with the scaffolds will also be inspected. The operator, prior to each use following the manufacturer's instruction book, will inspect elevating platforms. Maintenance personnel will conduct a preventative maintenance inspection of all elevating platforms at least quarterly. This inspection will follow the manufacturer's instruction book. Responsibilities. The program administrator will ensure that the requirements of this standard practice remain current with the applicable regulatory directives. Review scaffold inspection records at least annually with supervisors. Ensure that requirements of this standard practice are being followed by conducting inspections, reviews, spot checks, and other warranted follow-up action. Advise and provide assistance to supervisors as requested. Supervisors will ensure that all personnel assembling, disassembling, or working on scaffolding or platforms are instructed on proper techniques, use, and safety rules of scaffolding. Ensure that employees are following the requirements of this standard. Ensure that the completed scaffold assembly is inspected, that the manufacturer's instructions and that this standard practice were followed. Ensure that defective scaffolding is removed from service until defects are corrected. Ensure that only qualified personnel repair or perform maintenance on scaffolding. Ensure scaffolding inspections are completed at least biannually and before each erection. Designate appropriate storage locations within their area of responsibility. Employees will properly use scaffolds following the requirements contained in the standard practice and according to manufacturer's instructions. Immediately inform their supervisors of scaffold defects. Tags on broken or unsafe equipment. Tags must be used when defective equipment or unsafe conditions are found.